Okay, hi guys, Vitaly Gimin here again, and again with Bob Buckley and our creative introvert coach. Well, that's the title I gave him. He probably doesn't want to be labeled like that. But hi, Bob.
Hi, Italy. Good morning.
Good morning. What else have I got for you? I'll have another question because I think you mentioned previously that you like you like to kind of distinguish between helping professionals, managers, leaders, kind of with information versus transformation. We get a lot of information these days, but what we want is transformation, personal transformation. Can you talk more about that?
Information versus transformation is a distinction that I learned from one of my favorite ever teachers, Steve Chandler. If you've heard of Steve Chandler and you've got some of his books, good for you. If you haven't heard of him and you've got none of his books, then that needs to change. You need to transform that situation as
Okay,
quickly as possible.
Steve Chandler. I'll remember.
Yeah.
I'll try to put up a link if I
Hopefully he
remember.
sees this video and he's watching. Thanks, Steve. Yeah, so this is a distinction that Steve Chandler speaks about, transformation versus information. What it essentially boils down to is that whenever we are looking to go on a journey of change or transformation or make some type of shift, oftentimes we seek information. We look for people to teach us. We look for books to teach us. We look to learn the how-to of the situation. We look to fill our minds and learn more so that we know what to do, what to expect, what's coming. Whereas what I found in my own life is that although I adore reading and I love books and I love self-education and I read every day, what I had to recognize at some point was it's not the information that creates the change that I want to see in my life. For me, that was true. It wasn't the information. It wasn't the more books I had, the more success I was. If that was the case, I'd be sitting doing this interview on a gold-plated yacht off the shore.
All right, we might do that next, but
Yeah, well, maybe next month.
okay.
The point is, when you seek too much information, you get an overload. I get an overload. I overload myself with information, and my mind and my brain fills up with stuff. And it, instead of actually enabling me to transform myself or my situation or my business or my relationships, it actually hinders me. And I think that's the case for a lot of my clients, and I think that's the case for a lot of people on the planet. Is there's so much information out there, it can't be related to the how to do something. Like the reason why you don't have what it is you say you want, the reason why that thing hasn't happened for you yet, the reason why it's missing and you're still doing things to keep it out, it's not because you don't know how to change. It's because of many other things that are related to the transformational side of the change. Things like commitment, things like discipline, things like dealing with what is, like showing up into the moment and playing with that rather than projecting yourself into an illusory future or a non-existent past. These are the things that create transformation, like the commitment to do whatever is needed now. And I think what information can often do is move you away from the moment. And I often speak about the idea of a thought being a journey away from the moment. So this is how it seems to me. It seems to me whenever I start getting into a thinking pattern, it takes me away from what actually is happening now in this moment. And so what transformation is about is bringing you back to the moment and helping you to understand what needs to happen from you to change. And information, it really is much more about learning these facts and this knowledge. And the challenge with that is most people believe they need to have information, whereas really what they need to do is focus on the principles of transformation. That's how it seems to me. And so when we talked about doing this session together, I don't feel that we need more information. We can get every piece of information we need at our fingertips. I think what's missing is the courage, the confidence, the self-sovereignty to act in the moment to create transformation. And that's how it seems to me. I mean, what does it look like to you from where you're?
Oh, very much. You're just reflecting, we were very much synchronized in that way. The only times I personally transformed is when I stepped into that moment and I did something different that I don't usually do. I actually changed my patterns and, as you said, showed up in a different way. It's about beingness versus necessarily doingness. So I was a different person, and I took a risk. Yeah, you're absolutely correct. Love it, love it. I love this.
And I think just to click onto that point, I was always turned off as a young person growing up and going to uni and then starting my own business. I was always quite turned off by the Tony Robbins, the Jim Rohn sort of old school way of taking massive action and all this type of thing. I was always a little bit turned off by that because I've always been someone who enjoys thinking. I've enjoyed philosophy all my life. So what I'm not saying is don't think about things, like don't self-educate. Like I spend at least 90 minutes a day reading and a lot of the time in meditation. So that's not what we're saying. I think what I think is important here is to recognize that something different has to happen. You have to direct. If you're looking for transformation, then I invite you to see it as if you are the director of your consciousness. And imagine if you could direct your consciousness actively in a focused way, you'd see unfathomable things happen. It would blow your mind. So instead of thinking about taking action, I always talk about directing your consciousness and staying with one specific thing,
Beautiful. I love it. Directing you're the director of your consciousness. I love that image, Absolutely. You're pointing where you want to go and then you're being in that rather than just thinking all day about it, which is, I know I have a bad habit of like living in my head too much. So
yeah, and that's the difference between information and transformation. Information is in your head.
Right.
It's your head that always stops you anyway.
Right.
So why would you make that device more powerful? I think transformation ultimately comes from the heart.
Yes.
I often say there's 3 reasons why I usually don't have what I want. Number 1, I don't want it. Number 2, I've already got it. Or number 3, I don't believe it's possible for me to get it.
Yes, very true. Very true. Very true. Beautiful. Thank you so much. I think we'll have you again once more to go a little bit deep on the next session. But for now, Thank you so much. It's a great distinction.
I'm grateful. Thank you.